Hello, hello, and welcome to Paul Hedderman's Much Ado About Nothing here on Nothing FM. And Paul, how are you today? It's good to see you.
Good, good.
Good. About nothing. Well, let me just turn my audio off there. Paul, how are you today? It's good to see you. And I'm going to kick off with a reading, as we do usually. And this is from page 59 of a book that you might have heard of called I Am That by some bloke called Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. I don't know if anyone's familiar with him. I'm sure you are. Here we go. So it's the bottom of page 59. And the question was, I am what I know myself to be. And Maharaj replies with, you cannot possibly say that you are what you think yourself to be. Your ideas about yourself change from day to day and from moment to moment. Your self-image is the most changeful thing you have. It is utterly vulnerable, at the mercy of a passerby, a bereavement, the loss of a job, an insult, and your image of yourself, which you call your person, changes deeply. To know what you are, you must first investigate and know what you are not. And to know what you are not, you must watch yourself carefully, rejecting all that does not necessarily go with the basic fact, I am. The ideas, I am born at a given place at a given time from my parents, and now I am so-and-so, living at, married to, father of, employed by, and so on, are not inherent in the sense I am. Our usual attitude of I am this, separate consistently and perseveringly I am from this or that, and try to feel what it means to be, just to be, without being this or that. All our habits go against it, and the task of fighting them is long and hard sometimes, but clear understanding helps a lot. The clearer you understand that on the level of the mind you can be described in negative terms only, the quicker you will come to see or come to the end of your search and realize your limitless being.
All right, can you reinforce the last sentence you just read? Can you read that again, please?
I certainly will, yeah. The last sentence goes like this. The clearer you understand that on the level of the mind you can be described in negative terms only, the quicker you will come to the end of your search and realize your limitless being.
Okay, so that's the direction of negation. Yes, that's
Sure.
the direction of the invitation of non-duality is to see what you're not. It's
Okay.
not a call to arms to constantly attempt to arrive at where you are or to amplify where you are. To see what you're not. Yeah, by seeing what you're not, then what is becomes obvious or is obvious to us as an activity. Let's put it that way. So, in a way, that's why every. Did you run into other methodologies that are like non-Buddhism, non-Judaism, non-Catholicism? No, it's Catholicism, Buddhism, Judaism. It's all a positive approach in a sense premised on an idea of something starting from something that you're not. So non-duality is a negation. Yeah, it says not two. It does not say one. Its title is not two. Yeah. Why is that? Being ourselves reality. That's why. Yeah, as Ramana would put it, the greatest mystery is reality, aka David, Paul, Harry, everyone else who's here. Reality, aka Paul, wanting to attain reality. Now, it's never reality wanting to attain reality as the activity, it's Paul wanting to attain reality. But underneath the surface activities, the inherent condition is reality. Yeah, we are reality. Now, as this moving, volatile storyline, we believe we're Paul. Now, Paul can come to a situation where it's uncomfortable, irritable, restlessness. It feels like it has a calling for something else or whatever. It probably misinterprets a lot of echoes from whatever, from what we are. And it's driven now to want to attain reality. It makes total sense to Paul to want to attain reality because it looks like it would be a great advantage for Paul to attain reality as Paul. Yes? And
Hmm.
when Paul looks to his left and sees Bill at the same meeting and looks to his right and sees Mary, he feels his direction is confirmed because all these other people are looking for reality. Yeah? So now he gets a sense of purpose, he gets a sense of community, he belongs, and now he pursues reality. But the underlying condition that's not being noticed is being ourselves reality. That's not going to work. Yeah, that's all. It's not a punishment for Paul. It's just a fact. There's no way Paul, as the primary number, can make that equation work. It just doesn't work. Yes, the math doesn't add up. So why being ourselves reality? That's the assumption that underlies the direction of non-duality. Yeah. So we are what we're looking for is the assumption. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. It's not and then Paul starts going, where's the Buddha? Am I using it? No, it's you're the Buddha. Yeah. Unbeknownst to Paul, you're the Buddha. And then the Buddha is using the Buddha to seek the Buddha. That's the sort of warning or the invitation. And what happens if it lands? It's very disarming because you realize all your activities, all your movements, all your intentions, all your efforts and thoughts are reinforcing the misunderstanding. Yeah, that's usually what happens. It feels like an avalanche in you, but it's like a mental house is coming down. Yeah. Yeah, and then you're left in the ruins, and that's hallelujah because now you realize the reason why you're never going to get it, you are it. Yeah, the reason why you can't experience it, you are it. Yeah, the reason why you don't need to be afraid of losing it because you can't. It's just a fact. Yes, and you, as an assumed fact, cannot override the fact. You can seem to forget it. You can seem to deny it. You can seem to be unaware of it. But the fact is the fact is the fact. So, what we do, non-duality, the invitation of non-duality brings into stark contrast the misunderstandings that we live from, basically. A lot of other invitations don't. They reinforce those misunderstandings and they say, well, we can improve these misunderstandings, we can purify them, yes, we can love through them, and then they'll change. There'll be a huge transformation, and what you
Hmm.
want, you will not be. Well, the non-duality is a negation of the idea of what you once were. Yeah, this idea of being Paul. It's saying there's never been one. There has never been a long-lasting, independent, separate thing. Yeah, that's the fact.
Hmm.
So what happens is, and that nothingness doesn't move. So all your gyrations trying to fit the misunderstanding or to try to absorb the non-duality idea into the misunderstanding usually fails, and you're left with your own devices moving and throwing and going like this, like a baby when it's flipping, moving around because the nervous system hasn't gotten all uniform yet. Yeah, you're left with that, and it's like you find that finally the roof caves in. You realize you're never going to get it. Yeah,
Mm.
because you're looking for it. That's causing the seeming blindness to it. Yeah, that's the message, really. So it's premised on the idea we don't directly state being ourselves reality, but that's the underlying fact. We look at what we think we are. We look at what our memories picture us as. We look at how the perceptions interpret what's going on, and basically everything is being interpreted to fit around the idea of being a body. Yeah. Yeah, we're taking ourselves to be a thing that has subjective qualities. And then you run into a statement by Huang Po with that understanding, and it's very confusing to you when he says, a great Zen master, by the way,
Hmm.
that what can be perceived can't be perceiving, because that's the exact opposite of what we've been living from. We've been living from that which can be perceived in the mirror is what's perceiving. When I look at the body image in the mirror, that image is representing the seer, the feeler, the thinker, the doer, the haver. Yes? All those attributes that come from the claiming of seeing, doing, feeling, thinking, and having. Yeah? So basically, exactly what Hawaiian Po says, we're living the exact opposite. We believe what can be perceived is what's perceiving. Yes, it's just a fact, seemingly. Yeah. So what's one to do? Rely on the self that has seemed to have been completely unreliable in your life? Or maybe hear these new invitations and suggestions and let them land. Open up your airspace and let some of these messages through, so to speak. Yeah. They'll unload. Yeah. And what they unload is nothing because they're not bringing LA to LA. LA's there. Yeah. We're already in LA. We don't have to buy another map how to get to LA because we've never left LA. Yeah, we're here completely. Yeah. So to me, the more important message is about how the mental state reasserts these misunderstandings. Yeah. Even when it hears, quote unquote, the truth, it makes it its truth, which is not the truth. Yes. Because it thinks the truth includes it, and the truth actually negates it. Yeah, it doesn't include it. Yeah, you as what you take yourself to be are not the truth. Yeah, you're an assumption that needs constant reinforcement because it can't hold any water on its own. Yeah, so that which is said to be before everything is a product of the claiming of what's happening, and it shows up after really everything. Yeah. And we're living in a world of, instead of seeing the horse in front of the cart, we think the cart's in front of the horse. With that misunderstanding as the basis of our drive to understand, it's only going to lend misunderstanding all the way. Yeah. And so you're going to misunderstand non-duality by where you're hearing it from. Yeah. You're going to think you can graft it onto some other practice, you know, non-dual psychology, a non-dual yoga, a non-dual fucking calisthenics, whatever. Yes, non-dual gardening. Yeah, yeah. So I found very early on, like, there was a book called this "Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism" by a Tibetan guy called Trungpa Rinpoche. I think he died actually drunk or alcoholic.
Wow.
So it doesn't really matter how the messenger is, it's the message. And he would call, let's say, this idea of self and ego, which I don't, but he would say the first thing, it was the first paragraph of the book. First thing you need to know is the ego is going to take advantage of whatever it's brought into contact with. Yes? So we are what brings this idea of selfing into contact with stuff. The selfing claims that contact imply there's a one who's in contact. Yeah. And not only there's a one who's in contact, it's the one that's doing the contact, the one who's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. Yes. And so this understanding grows in repetition and it's just taken to be true. And most of us start from there. So if your goal is incredibly idealistic and beautiful, I wouldn't even talk about that goal. I would see where you're starting from. Yeah, because maybe you are at the real deal that you can only, where you seem to be, can only hold it as a conceptual idea. You actually may be right where you're hoping to end up. Yes. Yeah. So first movement, claiming. So they're seeing, the mental state reacts to that, says there's a seer. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
all. Does it over and over and over again. Yeah. Some stuff, it's absurd for it to claim, so it doesn't claim to be the digester of the food. Yeah, because it seems obvious you don't have it on your schedule to digest the burrito you had yesterday, today. Yes, it's obvious something is digesting and you really have very little to do with it. Or you don't think you're beating your heart usually. You don't, yes? It's obviously the
Mm.
muscle of beating. But then we completely lose that logic when it comes to thinking. We believe we're the thinker.
Yeah.
A much subtler process we take to claim, yeah? Where the obvious ones, we can't, the head just thinks it's so absurd it would be fucking,
Mm.
get away
Mm.
with it. So it just leaves it as it is. But then subtle activities where the doer, the hearer, the thinker, the feeler, the taster, which is insane, yeah?
Wow.
Yeah. So you see what's not, yeah? You see there's a narrative based on a lot of assumptions that aren't true, and then you react to life as a representative of all those assumptions. There's a reaction to life. You're not the reactor. There's a reaction to life from all those assumptions, yes? And then we have experiences, or there's
Mm.
experiences, and then we think we had them. Part of the experience is the claiming, and then the claiming says you're the experiencer. So now you think you're the experiencer of all experiences. You don't see. Why would you want to get into the all the curly cues when there's the engine? Just take a look at the engine. Yeah.
Mm.
Seriously. Yeah. You can take off the all the chrome and the car's still there. You want to go to the engine and see how it's working, I would say. So, yeah, then you're not in a giant battle between light and dark, or,
Mm.
there's the phantom devil self and you have to defeat it in a battle that it's like you're thinking if it was pay-per-view, you'd get the highest fucking residual of light and dark. But it's
Yeah.
all like an embellishment of selfing.
Yeah.
There's no battle to be won. It's just a recognition.
Mm.
Yeah. And if the recognition doesn't seem to stick, go hear satsang. Yeah. Go to a
Mm.
space where you sense it easier than if you were going to a Tupperware party or something. And then just let it get reinforced
Mm.
until it becomes sort of a habit and
Mm.
it becomes another assumption amongst all the other assumptions. But this assumption rings true. Yeah. This
Mm.
assumption has some weight when you hear the
Mm.
echo. It's coming from a real sound of silence, let's say. And
Mm.
now that assumption gives you an ability to recognize a lot of the misassumptions, yes?
Mm.
And so we were talking about it the other day. Yes, there's a negation, but there's no one that's negating. Yeah? Yeah. So there
Mm.
isn't you negating everything else. There's the negation of the you that would be negating everything else. Yeah. You don't have to negate everything else. Just negate the idea of you. And it's not even negate. There's no doing it. You just hear the message, and it either rings true or not. And if it doesn't come back, it will sooner or later. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. You just gave me something there actually. So when you were talking about watching pay TV or whatever, but I guess it's like listening to AM radio and believing that you're the DJ.
Well, yeah. See,
Yeah.
Kickball is taken to be like a CNN when it's really Comedy Central. Yeah. It's meant to be a satire or a comedy in a
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
instead of like a drama.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got a few questions here. Just to remind everyone, you're on Nothing FM, and this is Paul Hedderman, Much Ado About Nothing. And Paul, you can go to his website if you like what you hear today. His website's zenbitchslap.com, where you can get all his great books and see a lot of his videos and stuff like that. And he's also got a great YouTube channel on zenbitchslap.com as well. So I've got a couple of questions. First one from Lily, I think, who's on YouTube. Lily says, the one who doesn't feel like he's reading, which self is that?
Well, if there's reading and then there's a reaction that I'm not reading, those are the wings of selfing. Yeah. They come in a twosome, or you can look them as policeman, thief. You can just see it in a certain light. So There's a
Okay.
read, a recognition of reading, and then there'll be the claiming of that, and then that which claims it will have a critique of the reader that was recognized to be the reading. And that's also selfing, yeah.
Okay.
So let's say reading, and then there's a recognition that you're not that which is reading. That recognition gets claimed by that which isn't reading. And now you now you're stuck as the one who saw that you're not that which was reading. Yeah. This isn't an inhale, it's an inhale exhale. It's a twosome. Non-duality is a binary thing, yes. You have to, there's the object and the seeming shadow, both are negated, yes.
Mm.
Most people, they've been taking themselves to be an object, they see that they're not, and now they take themselves to be, the mental state takes themselves to be the shadow, which they're not either, yes. So now the shadow hovers over the object and fucking drives it to perfection it can never complete, and tons of other ways of torture,
Mm.
mental torture,
Mm.
stretching
Hypnotized.
the idea that you're the center of the universe and you should be brighter than everyone or something. Yes. It
I
just
can
becomes,
relate to that.
that's why they would say ignorance is bliss in a way.
Yes.
Ignorance of self as self, it's going to be hellish. I mean, if you have knowledge of self as self, it's going to be hellish, yes.
Mm.
Why do you think the thief arrived? So yet you could get a little relief from the policeman. The thief goes
Mm.
crazy, and then the
Mm.
police gets called in, and now you're living the life of the policeman.
Mm.
On probation for 20 years. You can't get off the pot nor take a shit. You're just everything you do, should I or shouldn't I? It's just obsessing with self again as the policeman. Yeah.
Cracking. Yeah. Um, Next one, the Equitable Skeptic. Good name. Which is a good question. I know I am not the self, yet psychosis still occurs. Discuss.
Yeah. There you go. Isn't that funny?
Mm. Mm.
See, there was a hope that if I saw I'm not that, then all the psychosis would go away. It's
Mm.
everyone go. They get completely bummed out.
Mm.
You just have an acceptance, or there's a different atmosphere surrounding the psychosis than the hovering of the policeman all day. Yeah.
I don't. What does psychosis mean? Actually, it's a name it's a word that's bandied about a bit. I don't know what that means actually.
I think it's like an overbearing groove amongst a lot of different grooves of mental activity or emotional stuff. This one is a little bit deeper and has more of a current, or so to speak. Yeah.
So a deep anxiety as a
Yeah.
result of
More
permanently
just,
grooved into your
it,
brain.
it has to do with an amping of degree, so to speak. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would say, no, I could be completely wrong.
Hmm.
I may be in a psychosis right now. I have no idea.
Well, I'll bring you your medicine for sure. Yeah, and that's yeah. So I know I'm not the self, yet psychosis still occurs. That's yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Interesting.
exactly.
Okay.
There's no, well, there's no need for confusion with that statement.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
a lot of shit occurs.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But I guess it's
or
the
appeal.
difference between knowing and feeling or being convinced or swallowing it or owning it.
Psychosis can still occur.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Mm.
psychosis is of the body brain. It's not of what we are.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
the body brain has its little winding up and unwinding. We're in the experience of it, or we're here, we're the, let's say, we're the space of the experience of it, and it goes on. Everyone's hoping for the magic elixir, yeah,
Mm.
so
Mm.
that the action figure just gets great, yeah, and
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, if
Mm.
any spiritual teacher's girlfriend or boyfriend, and yeah, They'll tell you how great the teacher is. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, what do you think? They're hovering above the ground every day and
yeah. Giving blessings.
exuding
Blessing.
wet beads that are like nectar and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, people can be assholes, and there's incredible awareness there. Yeah.
Just for everyone's benefit, Julie, who's the font of all knowledge, has said that psychosis, the definition is that I must learn to pronounce it properly. Okay, I thank you for that. It's a severe mental disorder in which thought and emotions are so impaired that contact is lost with external reality. Wow, they were suffering from a psychosis.
Complete psychosis, everyone.
Yeah, we should all be in psychosis. It's good. So Lily's just come back from her previous question, which was the one that doesn't feel like he's reading. Which self is that? And her follow up is, which self is the one that people often do recognize?
Well, the one that's objectified in their narration. They're missing the subjectified selfing.
Okay.
In other words, if you've recognized something, it's now objectified, yes?
Mm-hmm.
But while you're recognizing it, the recognizing is claimed by the subjectiveness of the selfing, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll move on from that, and then that subjective selfing will be objectified, and then the new aperture that you're living under, that aperture opening will be claimed, and then so on and so forth. Then after a while, you realize that's the mechanical aspect, and you don't go for any of it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. In other words, you meet the thief at the door a few times. Yeah, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to constantly be you don't have to be on super alert for it. You just realize you're not that. You're not this.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the subject. You're not the object. Yes. Yeah.
I always like the analogy that you use about dancing with the gorilla. That's always a good one with this. I think is that how do you stop dancing?
Well, yeah. Well, you try to beg the gorilla. Yeah. So you're in a
Yeah,
powerless position, seemingly.
yeah.
But this is
You.
more the act of claiming. See,
Mm,
people feel, all right, I've recognized the act of claiming. They don't know it's being presented right at that moment. The same act of claiming that they've objectified and now they think they know is active going on, claiming the seeing of that act of claiming. So the
mm,
seeing becomes that's claimed, and now you're the seer of that act of claiming, but not seeing that. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. Eugene asks, could you talk more about levels and skillful means? Because okay, this is a 12-step question. Because for AA to exist, there has to be an individual and a goal of becoming sober. Doesn't the illusion of the individual and object play a role at all, or does it all mean nothing? Do you want me to read that again?
Yeah, that's a lot there. But
Yeah,
let's take it as the action figure represents something called alcoholism.
sure.
Taken over by it, uh, infected it's infected its view of life, how it lives, how it reacts, all like this. I'm just talking about the action figure. So AA is a way of life to allow that to be corrected because the action figure in and of itself can't correct it. Yep. So it
Hmm.
allowed a possibility that wasn't possible in the realm of the action figure. Yeah, because the action figure can't do itself out of it, can't control it, can't manage it. Yeah. So it's failed, so to speak. So there's an admittance of that, and in that surrender, something is accessed, and that access is amplified and allowed to extend in time by the way of life of recovery. Yeah. So now the action figure, a lot of it's psychotic, psychosis. It's get unknotted to a point where it can travel lighter a day at a time. It's not brought to the insanity that precedes the first drink, so it doesn't drink or use. It doesn't set off that habitual pattern of what happens when a real alcoholic picks up. Yeah, that's done, and now it feels a presence, and it gives it a name, higher power. Yeah, so it can, and it feels like something is doing for it what it couldn't do for itself, and it starts becoming sort of a garden where gratitude grows and honor and awe, AWE, and it's just a nicer art project. Not a nicer. It's a different art project than the action figure was living before. Yes, and so all the while, in an absolute sense, nothing is happening. Yet, while it's happening, it seems like it's the only thing that's happening. So there you go. Yeah. So you live seemingly in two worlds, but they're not. Yeah. There's context, content. Content is the experience, is the reflection of experiences, is the feeling of forces moving in and out. You could call it a dreaming out of the dreaming. Yeah. And as the dreaming happens, dreams itself out of the dreaming, and the dream gets happier. That's the story for a lot of recovered alcoholics and addicts. Yeah. So
Mm.
all the while, the context of that is this idea that we're not a thing, we're not a doer, we're not a thinker, we're not of form or material. We are something that can't be described or arrived at or understood or seen or felt or tasted or touched, and they're not in conflict. One is in the world of activity, one is in the contextual state. Yeah. So there you go.
Okay.
If you're an alcoholic, a real one, or if there's real alcoholism going on, a lot of people will pick up things like Buddhism and stuff like that to try to get out of the alcoholism. And a lot of times that doesn't work. Yeah. So if you've been introduced to AA, that may be the invitation the action figure needs. Yes. So I was introduced to AA, and that's how sobriety extended in my life. I was not introduced to Buddhism the day I got struck sober.
Mm.
What I was brought to by life that night was an AA meeting, because that's what I needed as an action figure. Yeah. Now
Mm.
maybe down the road I got interested in Buddhism, which would be a nice add-on. Yeah. But not probably a substitute for recovery,
Mm.
but an
Mm.
add. Yes. So, but when you first meet something, uh, a lot of times you'd like to do anything other than that. You would like something else to work because you don't like AA or you don't like the word God or something like that. And I find a lot of people that do that, they get drunk and they're a drunk Buddhist. So that's
Yep.
just through observation, really.
Yep.
I've watched, over 33 years, I've watched a lot of people try to replace recovery with something else. Maybe they've been successful, but a lot of the folks I've noticed haven't, in a way. They went out drinking again or using or doing something. Yes. So, yeah. I don't know if that answered the question, but
Yeah. Yeah.
we're
It's
not
like
going to
I
have,
guess.
this is the last talk we're doing with nothing conference.
Yeah.
How's
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. But that's a great answer. And as somebody who's in recovery myself, it's you've got to jump through the hoops to get there, and it's yeah, it's like I said, I don't really, it's your show anyway. So John Kay, who's just come in, says he bumped into this purely by accident just now, and says it's the best part of his day by far. Good on you, John. And if you like this, just a reminder that Paul has a website. He does 4 sort of meetings a day on Zoom, and they're all at his website. If you want to have a look, go to his website at zenbitchslap.com, and you'll find all recordings of past satsangs and past 12-step reflection stuff, and it's all on there, and you can get all the details. So it's 4 meetings a week. You're more than welcome to come along. Lily has come back. Lily's persistent. Here she goes. Lily, so the one who realizes he's not the one who is reading doesn't recognize he's also selfing, which creates the sense he is the one whom is reading.
No, it doesn't create. The one who is reading comes from the selfing, but then there's a seeing of that. That seeing gets claimed, and now you become the seer of that which was reading. Yes? It doesn't mean it's true. That's just what in the mental realm that's what happens. Wherever you are, and that becomes noticeable by how you're seeing things, that position, that non-position is claimed,
Mm,
and that position is called you. Yes.
mm,
This is just selfing. Selfing doesn't, the claiming of selfing doesn't stop after you've recognized the claiming of selfing. It's mechanical. Yes? And the important thing is not just the first aspect of it that now becomes as an objectified self. It's it sneaks in by claiming the seeing of that, and now it's selfing, seeing selfing, so to speak. Yeah, and
yeah,
both those aspects of selfing as they're blind as a bat. They're just a mechanical claiming of seeing. Yeah. So there was a seeing of selfing, a seeing, and then that's claimed to imply there's a seer of selfing, and that's selfing. Yeah. Yeah. But the seeing is what is generating the whole thing. Yeah. It's the seeing claimed
mm,
that used to imply the seer. Without seeing, there would be no implying of a seer. Yeah.
yep,
It's claimed what's happening to imply something else that's actually
mm,
not happening. Yeah.
mm.
So
So,
basically, it's the difference of life's happening and then life's happening to me. One's more of a living through something, the other's in an interpretation of living
mm,
something.
mm.
Yeah.
So the narrator sees the narrator that sees the narrator and keeps claiming the rights to the narration.
The seeing of the narrator, that's claimed, and that
Yeah,
becomes the new narrator that has
yeah,
a huge narration about the previous narrator.
yes.
And it
I'm a
now
better
says the
narrator.
previous narrator, it should never, never not be the seer of the narrator. Yeah,
Yeah,
I should
that's it.
be seeing the narrator.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's and so it's like another ring of mental hell.
yeah. It's like
So then what
David
happens?
Attenborough and Leonard Nimoy having a dust up. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Goes out, gets loaded, and they feel better. Great perception.
Oh, poor old David Attenborough. He must be. Yeah.
Believe being the seer of the other seer. They're not. It's like what they thought everything was going to change. They don't realize it's seeing. It's the selfing. So therefore, they just get more relief by fucking up, going out, eating a big cake or something, than all this see of being the seer of all this
Yeah.
seer.
Yeah. And then I saw that. Yeah, that's it. So I'm the narrator.
So there's a seeing of the mechanical sense of being the seer. The seer is not before the seeing.
Mm,
The
mm,
seer is derived from the seeing. Yeah.
mm,
So there's clear seeing, and then that clear seeing is used to sort of make confusion by the seer. Yeah. It's
mm,
not the seeing;
mm.
it's the claiming of the seeing. Yeah. And now
So,
there's another seer that's on top of the other seer.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
sort of in a way.
so
This is
when
like the fineness of a misunderstanding of non-duality. It'll be much more painful. It is.
mm.
There's nothing worse than taking yourself to be the seer of the previous seer.
Yeah,
Then you go around admonishing everyone else's seer.
Yeah. And then somebody sees that. Yeah.
Just yeah, it
And
doesn't feel relaxation.
no. So,
How you suffer the inadequacies being compared with perfection, a fucking conceptual idea of
yeah,
perfection.
yeah,
I can never be the seer again. You never
that's,
were.
yeah. Hence psychosis. So Ida Catherine Angel asks, isn't it believing one's own thoughts psychotic?
Well, it's more that believing one's thoughts leads to be taking yourself to be the thinker. That would be the expression of the psychosis. The believing in thoughts is an invitation to the psychosis. The
Yes.
cherry on top is the one who's the thinker of all those psychotic thoughts. Yeah.
Who is it that's got psychosis, that has psychosis? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, psychosis may be it may be clamoring for attention, and you probably better do something, whatever. But the underlying value of the psychosis is to see who has it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
To recognize, because then psychosis, whatever it is, doesn't have its own weight. It's given that weight by the one who thinks they have the psychosis. Yes. So,
Hmm.
so the travel later isn't not to travel through psychosis. It's the travel through psychosis as not the one who has psychosis. Yes, that's the traveling later. Yeah.
Yep.
It's not about. A lot of people must believe there can't be psychosis without a one. Uh, I'm not a believer of that. There can be tons of psychosis. Yeah.
Mm.
But
Mm.
as long as you see it's not you, the psychosis may come and go, and will never be there long enough to be deemed a psychosis.
Mm. Mm.
They constantly keep changing,
Mm.
like Nisargadatta was implying about relying on a volatile set of conditions to find stability. Crazy, because
Mm.
you're changing all day,
Mm.
and the opinions of you from the other viewing is changing
Mm.
all day. So yeah, it's sort of like trying to, like trying to line up a row of blocks while you're on shifting ground. Yes,
Mm.
you're gonna think you're the one fucking it up, but it's not. It's that it can't happen on a shifting ground. There's too much movement to get everything aligned. This is what happens. People, a lot of us taking, there's no us, but there's a lot of taking uh, these conditions to be the reason why we're not at peace. So if we could only manage all these conditions and have them all lined up, and some people find, well, I've got to go into a controlled environment like a retreat or something. Are you still there, Dave?
Yeah, I'm listening.
A controlled environment like a retreat or something. And so for those 2 weeks, I eat good food. I don't get any calls. I'm not having outside stress too much. So now everything gets lined up and I feel great, like at 9 in the morning, Sunday morning. But then 9:02 shows up and things have changed. Yes, I get a call finally. You're fired or whatever. Then the whole fucking, all the blocks fall down again. Yes? The
Yeah.
whole the stability of those conditions is fool's gold. There's a stability prior to those conditions. That's our inherent nature. Yes, we're trying to mimic. We want the outside to seemingly perform like the inside, let's say, and it
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah, everything is volatile and dependent on everything else out here. So it's
Mm.
always a lot of moving parts to have everything moving. But what we are is in rest, so to speak, yes? So most people in spirituality, they're looking for a lot of peak experiences to stabilize. That's what they want. After
Mm.
they have enough peak experiences and you realize I'm not doing it, then what I need is a stabilization of those peak experiences. Yeah?
Mm.
and then that won't work, and then it'll be, on and on and on.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, because, as there's a great statement in an old Zen thing called faith mind, you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, we have to recognize we're not the activity in a sense. We are and we're not. Yeah. But if we take that which is active and we demand it to be still, forget about it. Yeah. It's just not
Yeah.
going to work.
Mm. Okay. So, John, we've got another 15 minutes before we're going to pack up shop. John Kay, who's stumbled upon us by accident and has changed his life, and he's having a wonderful day thanks to you, Paul. John Kay says, this is how am I going to phrase this? John Kay says, how do you know the difference between looking for a pair of pants and looking for salvation?
You'll be successful when it comes to the pants. You'll be successful when it comes to the pants. When you're looking for pants, you're going to find them. When you're looking for salvation, you probably won't. So that's my answer for today.
That's nothing like a good pair of pants to make you feel better. That's good. Get them salvation.
Difference. One you'll be successful in, the other you won't. And that's the real success of the other. Yeah? When you
Mm.
fail to find salvation, you may find out you are salvation. Yeah.
So, at the Equitable, sorry, mate. The Equitable
With
Skeptic has just to say, sorry, were you saying something?
yeah, when it's one, yeah, let's talk about if you didn't find the pants, that would be unsuccessful. But when
Mm.
you don't find salvation, that's incredibly successful. Because maybe you'll find out you are salvation. Yes?
Yeah.
You see?
Mm.
But if you don't find the pants, with the pants analogy, that's failure. You didn't get the pants when you wanted to get pants. But the other one isn't the truth. The failing of finding salvation is valuable. So you'll stop looking for what you are with
Mm.
what you are. Yeah?
Mm. Mm.
That's incredibly valuable. Yeah.
Okay.
There's not an incredible value being unsuccessful finding the pants. It's just I wanted a pair of pants, I didn't find them. But in the other example, it's incredibly valuable to fail, quote unquote fail, because in a way, that's its success because you're misunderstanding. Yeah,
Mm.
you're using what you're looking for to look for it. So when it fails, that's incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable.
Mm.
Yeah. It may not be felt that way when it's received by the selfing or reacted to by the selfing, but if you can sit through it, it's a huge hallelujah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And don't believe you haven't found the salvation because you haven't been looking hard enough. That's the old fucking
Yeah.
mental carrot in front of the mental mule. Just
Mm.
keep on to a
Mm.
dry empty trough. Yeah? No. There's value there. What can a failed system show you? It's failed. What can a mistake show you? It's a mistake, yes? What can a misunderstanding lead you to? Realizing it's a misunderstanding. Then it has value, yes? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so 10 minutes left. So here we go. The Equitable Skeptic, as I was saying, just to say to you that he's revealed his secret identity. He's actually Ricky from London. He wants to say hello. I think he sent you a meme. And he wants to thank you for helping him out when he was in rehab. So thanks very much, Ricky.
I remember. I
Yeah,
remember it.
good on you, Ricky. Eugene is back and he asks, so the action figure must come to a certain level to entertain this message, i.e., for instance,
No,
coming out of severe alcoholism.
doesn't have to. It may look like that, but no. The action figure is a delayed reaction or a response, yeah? It shows the effect of mind, big mind, entertaining ideas. It's not the cause of those effects, nor does it need to be in a certain condition, yeah, for
Okay.
those effects to be noticed. But it may look like this and this and that happened, and then therefore something was allowed to occur. But there's no roteness in that. That's not true. It's just the way it went. Yeah, my feeling. Yeah.
Okay. Right, so we're running out of time here, but we've had a few questions here, I think, from YouTube. So Alex Trusk asks, can awakening feel like depersonalization disorder? I sometimes fall asleep listening to non-duality talks, I'm sure he doesn't mean yours, and feel spaced out when I wake up.
It doesn't mean shit, really. You just woke up, feeling
Yeah,
spaced.
yeah.
Now, the idea that it's you, Alex, feeling spaced out,
Yes.
that's now noticing the mechanical process, mental process called selfing. That's what I call it. So, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I like being spaced out. Other people may not. Yeah.
I'm down with it. Belinda, sorry, you're going to say something? Belinda McCarthy. And I'm glad you've asked this, Belinda, because I've been keep thinking about the name of this book. So Belinda asks, can you talk about the invitation that Douglas Harding's Headless Way message is also a way to recognition of what we are, as is your message?
Uh, I like Douglas Harding. I
Mm,
never met him, and I liked that book. I liked the way he wrote.
mm,
And I felt like I got the flavor of what he was attempting to describe out of it. And I did when I was younger. I did those whatever they call them, and I had a sudden recognition of the fallacy of perception, and had a lot of laughing. So yeah, but I don't. I think I like Douglas Harding, and on the book on having no head. Yes, I like how he writes and the flow of it. But I don't know what else does it relate. Of course, it all relates. He used an imagery of there's really no head, that you're just assuming you have a head all day, and he was
yeah.
just playing around with that idea to get a message through. And I think he did a great job. Uh, he didn't, but something moving
Yeah.
through him.
Mm.
But yeah, this
Thank you,
is
Belinda.
yeah, this is the way we share just came from a reaction to a lot of stuff, and an observation of the seamlessness of negation as a way, like the reading of Nisargadatta talked about how a clear understanding can be quite helpful. Well, yes, I think the clear understanding with the aspect of negation as its direction is, yeah,
Okay.
the best you can do, really. It's the best you can do
Mm.
with the with with what we got at hand, so to speak.
Thank you. Good. And Belinda, thank you for reminding me of that, because I've been meaning to look into that book. So thank you very much, Belinda. And she comes back with a question, is to say, and which is a good one as well. When you say we are the dreaming, do you mean we are the dreamer? Can you elaborate on this, please?
No, no, when that's coming out of the Course in Miracles, where I think they say you are the dreamer. I don't like the idea of nouns. Yeah,
Yep.
I like the idea, the description of what's happening here as dreaming rings true with me. The idea that there's a dreamer doesn't. So I like to turn the ER and replace it with ING. So I do not believe that dreaming is the dreamer. I think there's dreaming without a dreamer. Yeah. There's dreaming, and then we find ourselves in a mental formation called the dreamt, really. And the dreamt, trying to figure out that it's the dreaming, doesn't really go anywhere. So I just say, I try to speak to the dreaming about the dreamt, not to the dreamt about the dreaming. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thanks very much. Thanks again for that, Belinda. And we're just coming up to the last few minutes. And I just wanted to have the final question. When you were talking about thoughts, and it made I thought of when people have these things called realizations. What are those? Are realizations actually thoughts where you sort of have some sort of intellectual comprehension, or are we talking? Well, I don't. I've always wondered what. It just occurred to me what that means.
Happens, and then they may be claimed and they may be framed in thought, but they're not of thought.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Ramana says, we're inherently always realized. So, in a sense, there's no realizations. There's just, let's say, uh, the emperor really being seen on having no clothes. Did the emperor ever have clothes? No. Yeah, but there sure was an assumption they did. Yeah. So now you've seen the fact for a second. You didn't see it. There was a seeing of it. And that fact is the fact. Yeah. So basically, you have a realization of what's always realizing. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, going back into the interpretive condition, there's an interpretation of that, and it's usually described with thought. Yeah. And now you caught a realization. And, you can hang it up on your spiritual mantle. You thoughts what's nailed in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Now you've had a realization and it's supposed to mean something. But really, if you told the truth as an event, it had you. Yeah. So something
Okay.
stopped doing, and then there was a pause, and then the Ewing starts up and claims the pause to be an
Yeah.
experience you had, when actually
Mm.
there's an absence of Ewing, which is the
Mm.
fact.
Mm.
But it was here on the surface, and there
Mm.
was a note. Yeah,
Mm.
that something
That's,
was.
so it's actually your head on the mantelpiece above the fireplace, and not the realization.
Yes. Well, if your whole if all your wallpaper in all your rooms is realization, why would you want to put one up on the mantle?
Perfect.
You know.
Okay, so thank you very much. So listen, we've come to the end of this episode. Thank you very much, Paul. Do you want to say goodbye to everyone?
Well, first of all, we're not going to have this anymore. I don't think Zoom. This
I
is our
believe
last.
so.
Yeah. So we'll. I don't know if anyone's interested in following up. We may add another one on Zen Bitch Slap,
Great.
and you'll see it on the event page. So
Mm.
we have
Mm.
one today at 4:30 Pacific time through a group called Awakening Together, which I'm not affiliated with. It's just a platform.
Sure.
Not saying they're a bad group. I'm just saying I don't know them that well.
Yeah.
So and that
And
we
just
have Tuesday at 4:30 Pacific time, and then we have our regular ones on recovery and non-duality. Tuesday, Thursday, 10:30 Pacific recovery. Wednesday night, Saturday non-duality. So yeah,
yeah,
as long
and I
as
think Eugene in the room actually is asking why the hell you can't do something a bit more conducive to European times, because you've got a lot of fans in this here Europe. So maybe have a think about us poor cousins across the pond.
David, have them talk to you, and we'll set one up. Find out which is the best one, and we'll do a non-duality for Europe and a good time.
I'm down with it. Well, let's talk. We'll talk about it. But anyway, listen. So thank you very much. If you want to hear more about Paul, as I said before, you've never been before, go to zenbitchslap.com. You'll see he's got some great books, great videos, etc. So we'll see you. But thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. And we'll see you at a satsang soon. Cheers.
Let me say goodbye. Oh, all right. We got to say goodbye quick. Nice to
Yeah.
see everybody. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming, and I'll see you soon. Some sooner than others.
Yes.
About a
Yeah.
half an hour. All
Yeah.
right. See you.
See y'all.